Marianne.
Susie, what was your emergency?
John's nephew is like 11 years younger than we are.
Oh, Julie?
Maury.
Maury may,
Hiking
okay, but
Yosemite
Julie, I would guess
Trail,
Julie
and
doesn't
then
have power.
Stay out of pain. Yeah.
Yeah, the high school still does not have power. I just talked to Bill Newton an hour ago.
There, November
Did
30th,
she log in?
Yep.
Okay, so Julie made it. That's good, because she lives pretty close to the high school.
December 3rd, and he died.
Okay, welcome to the December 17th, last regular meeting of 2025 for the Columbia Gorge ESD Board of Directors. Would you please stand, join in the flag salute? Where's the flag? And Susie, you're the closest. Would you please? I got flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, welcome. Do you want to do the introductions? Yeah.
Yeah, I will actually, Maury is with us online from Iceland. And if Maury is able to, no way, yeah, really, I'm going to let her introduce her part of her team.
I have to ask you first, Maury, have you gone to the Blue Lagoon?
Oh, unmute,
Unmute.
unmute. There we go. Do it there.
Right here.
There we go.
Yeah. Going in 2 days. Tomorrow is our big tour of the highlights of Reykjavik.
Yeah, we loved it. Except my sister and I chickened out about putting on the bathing suit and going into there, but it was really cool. All right, go ahead.
So I can't see who's in the room, but I'm going to introduce Azaria and then have Azaria introduce the other people in the room. So my name is Mari Donahue Revere from Columbia Gorge ESD, Director of Education Innovation. And this year I have the pleasure of supervising Azaria Oziz, who is the family school liaison for Native American students. Azaria, do you want to introduce other people in the room?
Yeah, you just introduce your group. We'll come back to you to do your report.
Okay.
Okay, this is the time.
Okay. I'm Azaria, as Mari just said. My daughter's here with me, just kind of observing. And then we have our chairperson and our secretary from our Indian Parent Committee, Charlie Ann, Kirk Shannon, Dominic.
Nice to have you.
Welcome. Any comments from the audience on non-agenda items? Okay. Reports. Paul, we have your report from the OSBA convention. Do you want to elaborate?
Well, for those of you who missed her, Pat Sublette was here to pick up a couple of little books about Yoncalla. She was instrumental in working with a group in Yoncalla to deliver services to very young kids. And they ended up making 2 little books, and I delivered both books to her. So it was a different kind of convention this year. Instead of us sitting out in the audience and nobody except, the backs of heads in front of us, we were all at round tables. And we had the Thursday when we started was a professional, administrative professionals pre-conference with Matt Lehrman, and he did a very good job of keeping us busy and engaged. So I thought that was good. Probably, again, like usual, not as much involvement with ESDs as we would like, but those sessions that they did have seemed to be pretty well, not only attended, but pretty well thought out. So I thought it was one of the better conventions I've attended.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
So if you have any questions, just ask.
Okay, I'm going to switch the agenda, board chair's prerogative, and I'm going to have Maury, if you would do anything further to introduce the speakers and the program, and we'll have.
So what?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. So my purpose today is to just talk a little bit about what the Indian Education Program is, how the Columbia Gorge ESD is related to it, and then have Azaria talk a little bit about the Unity which is a new initiative she's taking on, and then have the parent committee share a little bit about their role and how all of this is connected. There's two items. I don't think they're agenda items, but that's part of the process we're working through that may need, I know they need superintendent signatures, but I don't think they need board signatures. So we're just working our way through that. So there's some slides that I'd like Azaria to share, and I hope I can see them online while I'm
Yeah.
Do my darndest.
Teresa's going to try and project them, Maury.
okay.
And then the two items are these.
Okay.
Teresa has them virtually as well.
Okay.
There's a couple copies.
There's a couple copies.
Yeah, I only gave one copy.
That's okay. Here, I'm going to hang on to that and I'm going to let you see those, Doug.
Okay.
Okay. I think you're on, ma'am.
I think Mari's going to start.
So that's our introductory slide. So if you want to go to the next one, Teresa. So every spring, the Indian Parent Committee meets with Azaria in consultation to identify the goals of the Indian education program for the upcoming year. And this past spring, they identified several goals, which I've summarized here. So primary is increase school attendance, increase awareness of, and knowledge of cultural identity, college and career preparation, which is really focusing on our high school students, healthy relationships, a sense of belonging, and physical and emotional wellness, culturally responsive academic enrichment and support, which really goes towards supporting our teachers, and then increase parent participation with their students in both the cultural aspects and with school. Next slide. So who does Azaria support? This is a very complex, and I'm still trying to figure it out. So I'm going to explain the different parts, and then hopefully when it all, at the end of this, we'll see how it all comes together. And Azaria's role as the family school liaison is kind of the linchpin of how all of this works. So Azaria supports multiple groups of people. First of all, she prioritizes the students. We have 120 students enrolled in different tribes from across the country, and in a little bit we'll talk about that. And in addition to that, there's also an additional 120 students who are not enrolled in tribes who identify as Native American, who Azaria also supports. She supports the parents of these students. She supports teachers in 3 different ways. She consults with teachers about students. So if there's a student who's presenting challenges, or she has ideas, teacher needs ideas about how to engage with the student, Azaria can meet with the teacher. She also connects schools with school resources with the parents. And then she also advises our teachers about curriculum instruction. Azaria has been integral in the tribal history, shared history training in the region for the past 2 years, working very, very closely with the CREN, with the Columbia Regional Education Network. Another huge piece of Azaria's work, which I am still trying to learn more about, is how involved she is with the community. This is an alphabet soup, which I will try to explain, and Azaria can do a lot more to explain how these different groups are connected and involved, and how her role as the liaison for the ESD connects with the community. So the first one is GNAC, which is Gorge Native American Collaborative. Neighbors Along the Big River, which is a parent committee for both in Oregon and Washington parents. SWATCH, Southwest. I have the full abbreviation on the next page, but that's an organization that provides additional funding. The IPC, which is the Indian Parent Committee, Four Rivers Early Learning Hub, the STEM Hub, and the Columbia Red. And this is just a smattering of the different community organizations that Azaria is involved with to support our students, our parents, and our teachers. And then she also meets regularly with administrators, with our superintendents, with directors, and with principals, so that she can provide services for them as well. The next slide. So this is just a snapshot of who the students are that we support. And Celilo continues to be a crossroads of Native American tribal members from across the country. And so 67 different tribes are represented in our 4 school districts. And I don't have my notes, but Azaria, can you explain who the 4 largest groups are?
The big blue one there is the Yakima Nation. It only says Confederate Tribes that got cut off. And then the big pink one is Warm Springs. And then our other 2 biggest ones are Seneca Cayuga Nation, which is like way on the East Coast. And then the other one is the Chickasaw Nation from Oklahoma area, which also is from like the East Coast. So, you know, there's just complexity of supporting the students from like our very local river tribes like Yakima and Warm Springs, and then also making sure we have representation and students feel included and supported that have tribes all the way over on the East Coast.
Thanks, Azaria. The next slide. So one of the big initiatives we've had this year is Azaria meeting with students. And our goal is for Azaria to meet with students monthly and in their schools. And so this is a really brief outline of how we are trying to see if this can work this year. So she set aside Tuesdays and Thursdays to meet with students, and it's on a 3-week rotation. So she meets with the K-8 students in a program she calls Eagle's Nest. And she's working with principals right now, and she's already meeting with some principals in some schools, and then she's still meeting with principals to figure out a plan. But in general, she meets with the students, and they pull the students out of class to meet with Azaria for 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the school schedule. And during that time, Azaria talks about any of those goals that we mentioned in the very beginning. And when Azaria comes to her turn, she can probably speak a little bit more about that. And then the second part is Unity, which is working with our high school students. And Unity stands for United National Indian Tribal Youth. And that's the second part of this presentation, is Azaria will talk more about that. But our goal is for at the end of the year, for if we ask the students about about Azaria and what they know about their heritage and their culture, they will be able to speak to that. This is a big shift from the previous role, which was predominantly tutoring. And as Azaria and I talked more and more about what is it that Azaria can offer that there aren't already systems for, it was really the cultural piece. Most of our schools in our region are Title I schools. Most of our schools do a great job of offering tutoring and support. And Azaria's role is to help them access that if they're not accessing it, counseling and things like that. But the piece that we felt that Azaria could add that no one else could add was that cultural support. So that's really what Eagle's Nest and Unity is all about. Next question, or next slide. So a little bit more about community engagement, and these are the different organizations. So the Indian Parent Committee, and Charlie Ann will talk a little bit more about that later, but both in the Title VI funding that North Wasco receives and the ESD administers, it's required that the Indian Parent Committee consults with the homeschool liaison, that there is a position and for our situations, the ESD hires and supervises that they work together. It's required that they are consulting and providing input on Azaria's work. And unlike any other position that I supervise, their parent role is required. And we work really closely with our parent committee. Azaria works really closely with them. And then these are all the different community organizations that I could remember, but Azaria may have more that she's aware of and that's involved that support our Native American families and community in the area. And then our districts, she supports them with tribal history, shared history, powwows. Last year, there was a powwow at Dufur, and this year we have a grant for a powwow in Hood River. The Dufur one is still going to happen, and then there's one that Azaria's been, and then there's the summer school powwow as well, or the culture camp powwow that Azaria also coordinates. There's another organization called Native Community and Educators Collaborative, and this is a little bit a part of the parent committee. It's our regional parents from our region, but their real focus is on education and the schools and what happens between 9 and 3. 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. Our Indian Parent Committee does a lot of focus on what happens outside of the classroom, outside of the school day for after school and summers and weekends and things like that. They're also very interested in the school day, but this other committee, the NCEC, is really focused on what happens during the school day. Azaria attends college nights. She goes to IEP meetings. She attends open houses in the fall and things like that. And then she's very involved also with the culture camp in the summer. And we have different organizations who participate in that, like the Next Door. Next slide. And so funding, where does the funding come for this position? Primarily from Title VI. We get around $41,000 from the federal government. And Title VI has recently, all of the Native American funding sources that used to be in the school Department of Education have been moved to the Department of Interior. But as far as we know, that funding is still continuing. There's the Johnson O'Malley. Oh, and the Title VI is actually awarded to North Wasco. And then part of our local service plan is the Columbia Gorge ESD administers that grant for our region, which is our 4 school districts, Dufur, South Wasco, North Wasco, and Hood River. Then there's the Johnson O'Malley, which is around $9,000 a year from the Yakima tribe, and it's based on the number of students enrolled. They're a local service plan, and as you can see, the funding for that is very generous from all of our school districts. And because of that funding, we're able to make sure that Azaria's position is, I think she's at 0.8 right now, and we wouldn't be able to do that without this additional funding from the local service plan. And then donations. Just recently, Swatch donated last summer $25,000 for Culture Camp, and we used most of that money to pay for stipends for the Culture Camp teachers to teach about the culture. Major expenses is Azaria. That is our primary expense, and most of that money goes towards that. Johnson O'Malley, a portion of those funds are, I'm not sure of the budget term, but the parent committee has some say on how they are spent. And one of their major projects is using the money to support parents and students. So they have I think Charlie Ann will talk a little bit more about it, but they have a process where parents can apply for money for their students' registration for a sports camp, for shoes if they have, basketball shoes they need or particular equipment they need for something, renting musical instruments and things like that. The Indian education, that is also a large part of our expenses for supplies and also stipends for our culture teachers. And then some professional development for Azaria to continue to be involved in our region with the Oregon Indian Education Program and also the National Indian Education Association. And the next slide. Any questions?
Very informative. Yeah, it's a lot to keep track of.
It's a lot, and I'm still trying to figure it out. But Azaria has been doing this. This is her 3rd year doing it, and she is an invaluable support with all the work she did with Jonathan Foss last year as her supervisor, and she understands Title VI and the application process and is bringing me alongside as we figure this out.
Is the Title VI funding in the crosshairs of the federal government?
Not that we know of right now. There's a long history with supporting Indian education, other than moving it out of the Department of Ed into the Department of Interior. I haven't heard of any changes in the actual funding. And one of our goals with the funding is currently we have about 120 students who are enrolled, and our goal is to increase that this year and see if we can bring it up to 140, 150 students this year. And the Azaria have a couple of different strategies that we've been working on to increase our enrollment. Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to pass it on to Azaria.
I can go to the next slide. So I just wanted to talk to you guys about our Columbia Gorge Native American Youth Advisory Council, also referenced as Unity. If you want to go to the next slide. That objective is really long, but basically our objective, that's from our bylaws, is to have a collective voice for Native youth in the Gorge and to increase their opportunity to engage in community and decision-making within their schools, and to have opportunities to increase cultural awareness within their schools. And I think on the next slide, we have our priorities. Yes. So our priorities are cultural preservation and representation, environmental awareness, healthy lifestyles and personal growth, community service, and academic success. And so those are the things that the students at the 6 high schools have deemed as what they feel is important and what they want to accomplish from having with a youth council. This is just a list of some of the projects that we have done so far. We started this council not last school year, but in the 2023-2024 school year. It was actually started by the next door. They had a Native American youth outreach worker. His name was Goliath there, and he was hosting the youth council out of the next door. And he was not having a lot of participation at the hours he was hosting it. So we kind of were trying to collaborate. The parent committee was wanting a high school club that we didn't currently have. So me and Goliath partnered together to bring his youth advisory council into the high schools in the 2023-2024 school year. So we met last year in the 24-25 school year, monthly in their school, and then once a month outside of school when the students are available. It's hard to get all the different high schools on the same schedule with sports and everything. That's why none of them are here tonight. So in the past year and a half or so, these are some of the things that this group of students have accomplished. We've worked with the CRIPFIT, Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission, to do a in-lieu site cleanup for Earth Day. We went on a trip to Washington, D.C. to attend the Close Up Native Youth Summit. We have helped host cultural celebrations in the school districts like the Do for Powwow. We participate in Hood River Culture Week, and we have supported with Native culture and art displays during Native American Heritage Month in the schools. Part of their project that I think is one of the most exciting is they formed a council and they're working on becoming Unity affiliated. And then we've hosted cultural crafting classes to do culture sharing amongst the students. We've been working on some projects with some of the districts on Native culture being present during graduation ceremonies, and then volunteering with the Indian Education Program to support youth and elders in the community. So those are just some of the things that we've done so far that we hope to continue to do as the council grows and gets more traction. Some of our goals for the future is we're working on becoming affiliated with the Unity Network. One of the things I presented to Dana was our bylaws for our youth council and our resolution that we have asked the parent committee and the ESD to adopt. And the resolution states that it's really long, but the purpose of it is for the youth council to be a permanent part of the Indian Education Program structure, and for the homeschool liaison to be an advisor to the youth council, and that to be written in as part of my job description, so that as these students graduate high school, this is an opportunity that's always available to high school students. And so that was something that some of our seniors that are graduating this year was really important to them, that it became a permanent part of the structure before they graduate, so they know it'll continue to be available. And then they're working on getting more involvement from Native youth. We are a very new group, so we're still building awareness amongst the Native youth, and we're hoping that Eagle's Nest will help encourage, involvement in youth council as the kids grow up and have that familiarity with the program. And then wanting to just continue to build awareness of our program and relationships in the community so that we can have voices to promote positive growth and improve outcomes for Native youth. And these are just some photos of some of our activities that we've done. On the right are some photos of our in Lou Site Cleanup Day, you could see the youth just collecting trash there, and we partnered with CritFic. They fed us lunch, and it was a whole fun experience. Up top are some of our youth council members drumming with our younger youth at Culture Camp, and then there's our photo of our group trip to Washington, D.C. You could see on the bottom there, they did some policy proposals to the governors while we were there in D.C., and then these 3 photos on the left are more of our youth council members who worked as camp counselors during our culture camp, supporting our younger youth with cultural activities. And then I have a statement from one of our youth because they couldn't be here today. And so I just asked, why do they feel that the Youth Advisory Council should be available and what value do they see in it? And one of our students, his name's Ryan, he's in a couple of those photos. He said, I think the Youth Advisory should be offered so that the young Native Americans can be involved with the community more than they normally would without the program, as it gives more opportunities to be involved.
Great.
And then that's all we have. And then our ask is just at future for the board or superintendent to review our bylaws and resolution, and then hope that they're able to be adopted as part of the program. Thank you. But also parent committee.
Did you have a question for her?
What were you going to present on the behalf of the parent committee, or?
The parent committee will present on behalf of themselves.
Okay. You're handing the.
I'm passing the torch unless you guys have any questions about youth council.
No?
Okay.
Hi, my name's Charlie Ann Hirchen. I'm the chair of the Indian Parent Committee, and I have my counterpart here with me. I'm introduce her.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Dawn Lemieux. I am an enrolled Suwannee Chippewa community member and an Indian parent. I've been the secretary for the committees for, what year is it? Since 2018. So.
And I'm brand new, so they did a vote in spring and voted me in as the chairperson. So I'm still learning my role. One of our big tasks these past few months has been to complete our constitution and bylaws. And so we finally have those done, and eventually we'll be needing all of the superintendent's signatures to make those finalized and official. And one of the big changes in the bylaws is also including Azaria's position. And that was intentional because in case Azaria ever left her position, we want to make sure that the next person knows that their role is to also work with the Indian Parent Committee. And yeah, so one of the things Mari asked me to just kind of share is what we're doing in the community. Azaria shared a lot of that with the youth, and so did Mari. Some of the things, the bigger projects that we do are the 2-week culture camp during the summertime in collaboration with our partners at the Next Door, as well as the Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission. That's really where my involvement came into the parent committee before I was voted in as a member. I've been a cultural teacher and language teacher at those camps for the last 4 years. And I also participated in JOM as a youth, so I'm happy to see that we're also providing those supports, because that was a really big, it was a big deal for our community in Warm Springs. Sorry, I forgot to mention, I'm a Warm Springs tribal member. I grew up on the reservation, and JOM offered supports with cultural activities after school, because most of our parents were still working when we got out of school. And so it was a place for us to go and learn new crafts and new skills and feel seen as Native youth. And so I think that's some of our goals, is to see that for our youth here, and really emphasizing the intertribal piece of it. There are so many different tribes and youth from all over the country, and we want to make sure that they all feel welcome and safe. And so another huge project that we've worked on over the past year is getting the RISE Center, which is, it stands for the Rising Indigenous Spirits and Empowerment, which is something that was voted on by our Native community. And we are we're located at the St. Paul's Episcopal Church, which is here in the Dalles. We're in the lower level, and we have 4 classrooms, and it's been really amazing. We have our Eagle Quest Culture Craft Nights on Wednesdays there, and we also hold neighbor meetings, watch meetings, bunch of different community events. I'm also a victim advocate with the Tribal Police Department in Hood River, so we've held our domestic violence awareness gatherings there. And just one of the big goals for me too is to work more closely with this area on the tribal history, shared history. That's a passion of mine, as well as the other parent committee members. And honestly, just holding the districts accountable, because this Senate bill has been passed since 2017, and here we are 7 years later, and where have we gotten? So that is a concern of mine. I really want to see that curriculum in our school districts. Our students shouldn't have to be questioning their Native history. They should be learning it in schools alongside their peers. And yeah, I'm open to questions, but I also want to give Dawn an opportunity because she's been on the committee a lot longer than me.
I've just been doing the notes. But one big feature of our updated bylaw is we have adopted a new name. So in our new updated bylaws will be known as Columbia Gorge Indian Parent Committee. So it's a really long acronym that doesn't have a word to it. So feel free to throw out pronunciation ideas. Our Indian Parent Committee, our Columbia Gorge Indian Parent Committee, is focusing on both sides, the education, the success in the education that our youth are a part of, but we're also helping them to embrace their cultural identity. We are heavily recruiting in our own community to get teachers, whether they're elders or teachers like me and Charlie Ann, that just have that call to pass on the knowledge, to engage with youth. Not all youth have the same privilege as some of us who had tribal reservations or tribes that had more money to have a really successful JOM. Across 4 counties, trying to work with this area and other volunteers to get it to stretch to the different counties is really hard. But we get to see that come into play in Culture Camp. I believe even unintentionally, our numbers have risen in comparison to the year before. They keep rising every year. And, some of what Maury showed on the screen as far as the budget, that's a very makeshift budget. If you look at your current district's summer school planning, that is a tiny drop in comparison to other summer programming that's funded. The Culture Camp offers language, literacy, sewing class. You have to be able to math. You have to be able to you're incorporating a lot of hand-eye coordination, and you're learning a lot about materials. So some of the cultural pieces of Native teaching isn't always measured in the same way as Western dominant society education, but it aligns with the same things as we're learning now, just even with like wildfire management and the woods, that those systems were already in place. God, I feel like you covered a lot. I was trying to go off of the bylaws as well. Yeah, I understand that we will not, as we didn't provide this ahead of time, will not probably get signatures, but we would really love for the superintendents to have a look, and even you're welcome to connect with Charlie Ann and meet with the parent committee in one of our meetings as well, and find out ways to collaborate and partner. We are hopeful to add additional supports in offering tutoring to youth in the schools and using some of the already approved volunteers. My boys are 3rd generation out of the Dalles, but they are Hood River County students. Well, my youngest is now. He's also a Unity Council member. But it's still alarming across Indian country that our youth graduation rates are still extremely low in comparison to counterparts here in the States. So I really do find the need of this Indian Parent Committee as a support to our Native youth, and will continue until I resign in 2 years.
Well, thank you very much. You mentioned 4 counties: Hood River,
I still count Maupin as 4 counties. When I moved back so I was born in the Dalles, I moved to Wisconsin, and when I came back, it was a culture shock because I went from a tribal reservation and schools that my tribe's language was offered in the school to a very light community in Maupin. And so when I came in, we were considered like a 4th one way outside, and
Sure.
we weren't really included, and there were not very many Native counterparts out there. So I still keep counting it as 4.
You talked about 57 different tribes that are represented among the family. Past history in a former life told me that sometimes the integration of tribes, of students from different tribes was difficult because in the way you're talking, I'm heartened to, it sounds like that intertribal rivalry is not quite there, or is that, am I kind of asking my question in a way you can respond?
Yeah, as a tribal member from the Midwest, when I teach in the classrooms, I share what my tribal enrollment and my tribal connections are and the ways that I was taught. And so I'm building cultural humility within tribal people. And so the way that I teach something or the way that I do something is specific to my tribe. And I'm always open on the table, and this offers the ability for the youth in the classroom to also be a teacher. So I don't think I know everything, and I am open to new ideas. And even if it's tough ones, like I try to keep the door open for them to share as well. And so I get to see that at culture camp, and anytime we teach youth, some of them will share, like, this is not how we do it, this is how we do it. And so having them step up to the plate and youth leadership there to create a safe space for them to embrace the uncomfortable and take a healthy risk.
Okay, great, thank you. Board members, any other questions? Stacy?
I am just really pleased to hear that there's already so much infrastructure in place and that has been in place and is continuing to grow. And I hope we can really support that, because I think it's the cultural piece and the support piece, and for everyone to feel welcome is really important to us. I really admire what you're doing, and I'm glad you came to talk to us about it.
Stephanie, do you have something? I have a question. I thought Stephanie was. She said, oh, okay. Diane?
Okay, I have a question. Are you able to, with each tribe, you know how they're all registered and they have numbers? The job, I work at a funeral home, and I work with tribal people that come in. And so they'll bring in their papers and their children and grandchildren's documentation, and I make files for them. And there are so many more Indian families than we can imagine. And are you privy to get those files and help the tribes find them? Because Hood River has so many tribal members in the school district. It's phenomenal how many are there.
The way that we get our data for our tribal students is based on their school enrollment.
Mm-hmm.
So when they enroll for school, when it asks their race and ethnicity, if they select Native American, then it, at the beginning of the year, I reach out to the data specialist from the 4 districts, and I ask them for a list of their potential Native American students. So then they send me a list based on who selected that they were Native American. So other than that, I don't get data from anywhere other than self-identification during school enrollment. And then there was some challenges with that because of the way that they ask about Hispanic ethnicity. And then when it comes to race, there's no option for Hispanic. And so a lot of our Hispanic families would select Hispanic, and then down below select Native American, because that felt most closely related. So then we worked with the data specialist in North Wasco and added a question on their school enrollment, which is our qualifying factor of, does your child have a parent, a grandparent, or is your child an enrolled tribal member?
Yeah, that's very good.
And so if they answer yes to that question, that they have tribal affiliation, then they would be put on my list to reach out to that family and recruit them into the program.
Yeah, I think that's really good that you're asking that question
Mhm.
because it's a phenomenal number, was what I've discovered.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you. And that's really a great way to reach them by saying that. Are you or a family member, a tribal member? And it's amazing. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Well, but there are probably also a great number of First Americans who don't claim to be affiliated with the tribe as well.
Yeah, that's true. With people, BIPOC community members, Native American community members, we are the only ones that have to register, have to prove blood quantum. We are the only ones that have to prove we say who we are. And if we don't have enough blood quantum, or we don't fall under the line of that tribal enrollment's their own laws, because each tribe is the sovereign government of themselves, and it all varies from 574 tribes who get to govern themselves. And then from the 2020 census, when Native families fill out forms in a certain way, we get put in a something else category. So if we are Native American and we claim our half-white heritage, we get put in a something else category. We don't actually get seen as Native American anymore if we select more than just Native American. So part of it is the enrollments itself to ensure we're using the correct verbiage so the Native youth and families can be identified as such.
And that's something I've had to work with the individual principals on, because in Power School, when you do a student filter by Native American, it only shows the students who selected only Native American. And then the other students get put in a category called mixed race. And so then I take my list from the data specialist, and I have to inform the principals who their Native kids are based on that list. And so hopefully, we don't miss anybody, but there's always those chances. And I even find just from all of the community involvement and the other programs that students do get missed in that data when I'm at events like Neighbor or Swatch or Crit Pick events and talking to students and, oh, what school do you go to? Oh, I go to Chenoweth. And I'm like, I've never seen your name on my list before. What? And, talk to them more, talk to the school, get them added onto the program. But it happens more often than it should that students get missed because of that. And when Mari was sharing those numbers of the 120 enrolled and 120 not enrolled that we still also support, from what Dawn was sharing with tribal enrollment being so nuanced based on each tribe, a huge part of the program is making sure that no student feels left out. And that's why we get donations from places like Swatch and partner with organizations like Crit Pick and the Next Door that have opportunity and funding to serve students outside of our Title VI or JOM enrolled students. Because some of our students identify as Native American and they don't qualify for the program because they don't have a parent or grandparent that's tribally enrolled, because of a blood quantum requirement that is part of their tribe that doesn't allow them to be enrolled. And so that's another layer of making sure that all students get involvement.
Well, thank you very much. It was very informative. I learned a new term, blood quantum.
One comment real quick, Doug. Azaria will never toot her own horn, so I will. If you weren't already proud enough of your mom, she came to me, what was it, 2 weeks ago, it seems like, and wanted to start a toy drive for the Eagle Quest Native youth. And she took the lead on that. And we were a small part of raising toys for how many, 109?
We had 109 students at the event on, what was it, Sunday? Just this last Sunday.
So she pulled that together quick, and that we hope to be a bigger part of that next year. So
yes, and we're grateful. In the past, the parent committee has partnered with the college student group, and they were MIA this year. So
I have a question for you all. How many of you have gotten the tribal history, shared history training that this area has helped?
I've gotten a what? Tribal.
Just curious. Well, a little history for you all, if you didn't know. I mentioned I work for Crit Big. So the 4 Columbia Basin tribes that are represented here on the river are 3 of them are more local. One of them's in Idaho, but Yakima Nation in Washington. We've got Warm Springs and Umatilla in Oregon, and then Nez Perce in Idaho. So little, yeah, just sharing that with you all.
Thank you.
We also have 31 treaty fishing access sites that folks don't know, where Native community members live along the river.
Well, thank you. You don't need to stay for the rest of the meeting if you'd like to get out.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Have a great holiday.
for coming.
Very Merry Christmas.
Okay. All right. Keep passing the cookies, please. Dana, you're on.
Pass the cookies. There you go. Oh, thank you, Maury. Go have fun.
He's already gone.
Yeah, good.
I don't blame him.
Oh, my gosh. I know, pass the stuff. Okay. Okay. Oh, this is
Those
good.
were very, very, very good speakers.
Yes.
Articulate, I mean, knew exactly what they were saying and a wealth of information. I never have heard of half of what they just talked about. So it was very informative.
And I'm hopeful to continue to have more staff members for you all to meet so that you can really see the breadth and depth of what.
Just knowing all how, you know, 'cause I know we have them, but it's like, well, even when I worked at the district, it wasn't as much as it is now, you know, of how all the different, how it was perceived. And I just think it's very interesting to make sure that they feel a part of the community and the school district.
It's always hurt my feelings that the graduation rates are so low, and I'm glad that's one of their priorities to work on, and starting with Eagles Nest when the kids are younger. Hopefully that'll help them feel engaged and proud of their culture and supported academically. So we'll have more kids finishing high school and continuing into trade programs and college and university programs.
Very good, very good.
All right. Yeah, that's a tough one to follow. I'll do my best.
That's okay.
That sounds really boring, but Kip and I were both able to go to the law conference a few weeks ago, which had many sessions on changes in legislation and changes in labor law, a variety of topics that we were able to participate in. The bulk of what I want to share with you is really kind of a summary of where we're at right now as far as state and federal funding. And I did share a couple of documents with you if you had a chance to take a look at the links that were at the bottom of my report. One is a letter that was written to the governor and to the chairs of the Ways and Means Committee by 13 different educational organizations across the state, from PTA to Oregon School Board Association, a few ESDs, and a few of the larger school districts across the state. And they talked about some successes that we had in the 25 legislative session and then moved into a plea for advocacy that as our families are facing cuts in SNAP and cuts in Medicaid, and that we see rising ICE action across the state, that they're really advocating that in the short session, there are no cuts to K-12 education, and that we utilize the Education Stability Fund, which has been used 9 times since it was legislatively mandated to exist, and that this is the reason to use it now. And that the K-12 education, we are 30% of the overall state budget, and that there is enough money. There is over $1 billion currently in the Education Stability Fund, and that for this next year, it would not require using all of it, but they are advocating that we use those funds. And I bring this to your attention because you all also advocate, whether it's talking to your friends and neighbors, or if you're at Rotary or Lions or any number of other places. I think it's important that we all take the stance that there not be any cuts to education in this biennium, that we have the funds, we have the reserves, and that we should be utilizing those reserves. We know through the next few biennium budgets that we're going to be facing some really hard decisions as a state. HR 1 is very, very negatively impacting our state budget, and we've got some tough decisions to make. But we want those decisions to be thoughtful and to be planned out, and that we don't feel that we should be taking those cuts during the second half of the biennium. So I shared that letter with you, and I also then shared a memo that came from COSA, the Organization for School Administrators in this state, and it very clearly lays out timelines. And again, I wanted you to have this as information so that if you have a chance to be talking to legislators, to be advocating at all, I think it's really important for you to understand that there is a way for education in the second half of the biennium to not have any cuts. And that it's important that we not try and pit one educational program against another one. That's a no-win scenario.
Yes.
So I wanted to make sure that you had that information. The other piece that I just want to highlight.
And that was just sent internally to coastal leaders and superintendents.
It was, and it was intended to be shared with, as a way to message with school board members or with communications. But it's very, in my opinion, very factual and really helps lay out exactly what they feel needs to happen, and that some key takeaways are no immediate cuts, to stay focused on students, to communicate early and often, to advocate for thoughtful solutions, and to keep the language very, very simple when you're advocating with legislators and community members.
Short, sweet.
We don't need to make cuts within K-12 education. We know that we're facing some pretty dire situations when it comes to health and human services. But we do have the reserves for K-12 education.
That's what they're
right
for.
now. That's what it's
for there.
Yeah. And it has a way to be replenished. I mean, it's all set up in the legislator, in the Constitution, that money from lottery funds goes back into the fund and builds it back up. It's at its legislatively mandated maximum at this point.
So it's got more money, it knows what to do.
It's the money then actually goes into the program that supports, oh God, I can't think of the word now. The program that supports bonding for if they need to do work in schools that can't pass bonds and that need seismic upgrades and things like that. So there's a place that the money spills into, but it's tapped at this point. I also shared a slide. It's a little hard to read, but where we're at right now, we do believe that the federal government's going to go on holiday break. They did not pass anything even around the ACA, and they have not addressed federal funding. At this point, there is the potential for another federal government shutdown on the end of January. Right now, there is a House and a Senate version of how federal funds for education would be spent. You'll notice that Title I-C is not specifically mentioned, which is the program that we're obviously quite concerned about, our migrant education program. I verified with our state leaders that the House proposal would predominantly eliminate Title I-C and that the Senate proposal would predominantly keep it in place.
Oh, gee.
And so the Senate version is actually what is being supported by the National Association of School Superintendents.
That's good.
It's considered the bipartisan bill at this point. But right now, obviously, we're worlds apart between the House and the Senate version for educational spending at the federal level, and we do not have an answer. So we're waiting to see what's going to happen with these various title programs at the federal level, and I continue to be in as many spaces as I can so that I can learn and hear what's happening.
What is REAP? R-E.
It's so bizarre. It just makes sense.
I'll find out for you.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I've heard it, but I can't explain the acronym.
Sometimes I wonder why we have two. If they don't get together, we should have a third. Oh, sorry. I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
The other thing that's been happening over the last couple of weeks is that Vanessa and I have been out to all 4 of our constituent school districts and met with superintendents and CFOs to talk to them about their local service plan allocations, the services that they're receiving, and what they are asking for as far as service for the 26-27 school year. And we will be bringing that draft of the local service plan to you in January for your approval.
That must have been interesting.
Would you when you do the federal updates, could you send that back out and explain, okay, what's Title I Part A?
Yes,
Yeah,
I can.
Just,
I
I
will.
don't always know.
Yep.
If you tell me, oh,
That's the biggest pot of money, though, quite honestly.
Yeah.
That's basic reading and math support, but I can absolutely make sure that I notate
yeah,
what's the various title
Title
programs are.
III Part A eliminated.
Yes.
What are we getting eliminated there?
Title III supports students that are learning English as a second language.
Oh, okay.
Title IIA is predominantly teacher, it used to be teacher and paraprofessional, professional development and support.
Okay. Just
But
curious what
I
they
will make
are.
sure I notate them the next time.
REAP is Rural Energy for America program.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone, any?
And the other big program, the support, the rural schools that just passed, it's
Just
not
passed.
part of this.
Yeah.
It is not part of this. It is specifically to support, actually North Wasco School District will receive some funds from that. It is for districts and counties that predominantly have state and federal lands. And so they're not able to pull in very many property taxes.
Oh,
And so it
that makes
specifically
sense, yeah.
supports, so if you think specifically about like southeastern Oregon, where there are large
Sure.
counties that have very small populations,
Burns, yeah.
those funds really support those districts very heavily. And it does not offset their state school fund. They get that money in addition to their state school
That's
fund.
good. That's good.
And they need those funds. Their ability to pass bonds is
No.
almost impossible. So we did have a rural caucus here in Oregon that was advocating, and that just passed from the time that we came back from the law conference the last week and a half.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on, and we're going to have a double report from Vanessa. She gets to talk about money, and then she gets to talk about what she learned in Houston, Texas.
Oh,
Besides line dancing.
No, I did not do that. Thank you, Chair Nelson, SEAM board members and colleagues. I can't believe it's been a whole year since I've been, it's gone so fast. We've had a lot of activity and change in the fiscal department, but we've had successfully completed some restructuring, and we have Alyssa has moved to the grant manager role and Beth in payroll. And they've really stepped up to the plate. Patty's also been stepping up to cover immediate needs during this transition. They've really just been so great to work with, and their commitment and their wanting to learn and grow has been amazing. I just can't say how much I appreciate them. Our main focus right now is calendar year end and the year end closing process. We're just trying to assure a smooth transition and finish up 2025 strong. Put it behind us. And then we have budget and negotiation season. We're finishing up final quarter expense reports and tax filings for payroll, and 1099s and W-2 distribution is coming up. And then we'll be working on budget again. Seems like we just did that.
I know, does it?
I just want to take a moment to thank them and for their dedication and their resilience. It's been a tough year, so I feel like we've achieved a lot here. So
I think we should be thanking you for all what you had to relearn that you thought you already knew and found out you didn't.
Yes, we're all learning lots. Also, I wanted to take a moment to, unless anybody has any questions, I provided the financials, and I know I skipped a couple times, but I feel like our processes have gotten better and have improved, and I'm feeling a lot better about my presentation today.
Yes, sure.
In terms of cash flow, are you feeling like the money's coming in a way that we can pay the bills at the end of every month, let's put it that way.
Yes, I feel very confident. Revenue is being posted, grant claiming is being done regularly. I'm feeling really good about that. Unfortunately, we're going to have to pay our flow through. So it's going to be about $1 million.
Pay what?
Our
Flow
flow through to
Oh,
districts
oh,
soon.
Districts.
So
And procurement is still a challenge at ODE. We are just now signing some contracts that we have been paying staff members since July 1st.
yeah,
And there are still a few contracts that we have not received.
I just think that's so, oh,
So, but
so
I mean,
we are paying the bills and we're making
Yes.
payroll, and I feel good about that.
that's true.
The future, I can't say anything about. But,
Thank you.
yeah, and I have a little slideshow of my trip to Texas, so I'm going to share that if I can. Here. See if I can
there you
do a
go.
slideshow.
Starting.
Slideshow. Obviously, I don't do slideshows very often, so here
There
we
you
go.
are.
Share.
You're the one with the real long hair, right?
Wait, I want to do slideshow.
Several.
Wait, I'm not seeing that. Okay. So net worth, sorry, I'm not very familiar with slideshows, apparently.
Was this
It's
a,
at the top where it says slideshow, and it should say like project.
I know, I'm frozen. No, I mean, as like in,
is this,
there it is right there. It's because of the Zoom is in front of my face, that's why. Okay, there we go. From beginning. Okay, so here's my highlights. What I learned at the Association of School Business Officials Expo 2025. This is the group that won the scholarship, the Emerging Leaders Scholarship. They from all different states. 3 people from Oregon were selected, and New Jersey, and like everywhere, Texas, I think New York. And we all got together and we got together as a group and had leadership conferences and learned strategies for emerging leaders, different ways of thinking, and just got to get together and talk about, we really talked about issues that we had, and anyway, it was fun. And
We had vendors.
and we had vendors. Yes, we did. There was actually the scholarship was security. I think it was Benefit Securities sponsored that, and you can see that I actually was at the conference. I wasn't
You were
just
there.
like listening to people.
I love that to count it as your proof.
The 2 ladies on the beside me were the Oregon members that won the leadership scholarship as well. Then up at the top left, there's some people from OASBO, from Oregon ASBO. We all had matching shirts during the conference. So that's why we're all in blue. OASBO provided those to us. And this is the OASBO group, the Oregon Association of School Business Officials. You can see Jackie Olson there on the left. Some of my teachers, I think in the O was Jai Logan and John Rexford on the right-hand side. They have been my teachers in School Finance Academy. Amazing people. And then we got this book, Start with Vision, and I read the book. And that was part of our class, just talking about how to think differently as a leader. And that was great. And I can always share that if anyone's interested. We did some brainstorming in the class, got our awards and had a dinner with security benefits, and just had to stand up. And obviously I do not take pictures well because I'm like making a face in every picture, but they recognized us at the conference as well.
Nice.
So yeah, it was great. I learned a lot about just vision and thinking differently and just being different as a leader, and just met a lot of great people. So I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for letting me go. I would love to go again someday.
get another scholarship?
Yeah, exactly. I'll be applying for one of those if I can. But anyway, I just wanted to share.
That's great.
And Vanessa's not going to tell you, but she has stepped up and she is co-leading the Oregon Association of ESD CFOs from around the state, and they meet virtually once a month. And she's now
Headlining
the
it.
lead, one of that group.
Doing us proud.
Yes.
Representing.
Thank you.
Good job. Nice slideshow too.
It's honestly, it's a great opportunity because the CFO job, like I've learned so much, and we've really come together. It's just ESDs and are talking about the PBAM changes, and just I'm excited. So anyway, thank you.
Would you have thought a year ago what your year would have been like coming into this job?
No, definitely not. I just can't, it's gone so fast. Yeah. I'm still learning something new every day. You're not seeing it.
Every day.
Definitely got the right person.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, well, thank you, Vanessa. Kit?
Good evening, Chair and board members and colleagues on Zoom and here. Glad to be here. Brief report tonight as we're gearing up for the winter break. As of 10 days ago, when I posted this report, we had 5 openings. I'm happy to say we only have 2 as of tonight. It was a really good week for us for hiring. Believe it or not, planning is underway by our HR team for the spring in-service. So we're setting up some fun professional development and shared meal with all staff. And then we continue to get really close to the end of the job rewrite process with Debbie and her team at Stingray Consultants. It's been a really fun collaborative process. Debbie set up a unique system where all her staff had the opportunity to give input into their job descriptions, which was really nice and will benefit the organization going forward. So we're nearing the end of that. We had 1 resignation, and we hired Gina Valesco as our new nurse administrator, which was really exciting. Gina was part of the nurse team, and so she was an RN for us for about a year, and then now she's going to step into those shoes. So we wish her well, and we'll support her as much as we can. Taylor Chamberlain is our new tech specialist 1, part of Stan's team, and he's doing a tremendous job from what I hear. Dana touched on the Coastal Law Conference, the really fun stuff. We collected up to 75 now warm winter coats for kids in need around the community. So thank you for all of you that have bringing in items for that. And that is my report.
Great, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, consent agenda, to have a motion to approve the consent.
I move we approve the consent agenda, items 5A through H.
Okay, we've got some money coming in.
I second.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Any questions? Anybody want to pull anything? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Let's see. Oregon Association of ESD Officer Council, nominations for chair-elect. Paul, have you been on that, or are you on the legislative piece of that?
No, neither one now,
Oh, okay,
but I have been on it in the past.
okay. Should we nominate you?
I don't care.
Paul.
I will second.
Okay. Now we have a motion to nominate Paul to be chair-elect of the OAESD Officer Council. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Stephanie, are you a thumbs up?
I
Aye.
Okay. All right, and then we have a memo of understanding with the CGESD for a one-time disbursement for stipend for an exempt employee. Do you want to explain that?
I can. We had a resignation earlier this fall in the technology department in a rather key role. But due to concerns about finances, we opted not to rehire that position. We're also in the process of rewriting all of our job descriptions right now. Our collectively bargained agreement requires that if individuals are working out of their classification, that we compensate them accordingly, which we have been doing. But this one individual that we wrote the memorandum of understanding for is currently an exempt employee, which means he is not an hourly employee. And he is also picking up part of this job that the individual resigned for. So we needed to find a way that we could compensate this individual for the year. Kip reached out to a few of his HR colleagues at other ESDs, and what they recommended is that we do a one-time stipend. We believe that the situation will be resolved starting July 1st when we have new job descriptions in place and people are working within their classifications again. So this is just our way of showing that this individual is picking up some of the load for someone that resigned and that we did not rehire.
Okay,
That's great.
questions? A motion to approve?
I move we approve the memo of understanding.
Second.
Have a second?
Second.
Second?
Second. Oh, I didn't hear another second. Sorry. I guess I need hearing aids now.
No, that was yourself. You seconded yourself.
I seconded myself?
Yeah.
Oh, then I definitely need more than hearing aids.
It's not the hearing aid, my dear. Have
And I
another,
won't
have
be here
another
after
cookie.
2 years.
Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I didn't hear that. So.
That, I think, concludes the regular agenda.
Yep.
We do have some information items, some updates on ESD. We do have one policy. Please review carefully on financial reserves. DBDB financial reserves. I'm highlighting that because it's brand new and it does highlight some things. I don't know, Dana or Vanessa, who wants to jump in on this?
Well, I did reach out, you and I spoke about this, Doug, and our auditor is not at the point where she feels like she can give us any information on what our ending fund balance would be for the 24-25 year. I worked closely with actually someone that Vanessa works with also, someone from OASBO that is a retired superintendent and CFO. And this is a combination of a couple of different policies around the state. I believe that whether or not we choose to change the percentages in this policy, that this will allow us to start to ensure that we have a solid ending fund balance, that we're also putting some reserves aside for facilities, because one of your goals is that at some point in the future, we are either all under one roof, whether that's as a longtime leasee or as a property owner. And we need to plan ahead so that we can be in a stronger fiscal position. If at some point in time, we also decide that we need to borrow money to be able to support a property, showing that we have stronger fiscal practices and that we have money in contingency funds and that we have a policy for an ending fund balance allows us to gain a better interest rate if we choose to borrow money in the future. Vanessa and I don't know whether or not we could meet all of these things at this time, so we would need to present a plan to you if these are the percentages that you choose to adopt. And if you choose to change any of these percentages, then we obviously will work to meet whatever it is that you decide.
I want you to look at it, think about it, because this is a your step in terms of financial stuff. Any questions on that?
No, just a comment. I think it's physically prudent that we have reserves.
Yeah, it's just a matter of how many.
Yeah.
We don't want to have so many that we get giving it to somebody else.
No, we don't want that.
Anyway. Okay, any other policy we need to, that was the major one that, for me, any others that we needed to highlight? I think the others are, a lot of them are updates. Susan, you've been doing this work. Anything else that you?
A lot of updates, things in response to legislative changes. We do have a updated concussion and brain injury policy, which we've been putting into play, and which will be especially important for our staff out in district schools to be aware of that.
And you think, well, why do we need something for school sports participation? But it's really the brain trauma and concussion.
It kind of all falls under the same umbrella.
Okay. All right. Any other comments? Any other words for the good of the group? Yes. Okay. With that, we will adjourn to an executive.
Sorry. Was Stan gonna report?
No.
No, I said they must just have certain ones there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just doing a
that's
couple at a time.
right. Got it.
I said the same thing.
I was waiting to hear from the rest of you.
I was reading his recording here.
Okay.
Realized I became confused.
The Columbia Gorge ESD will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
660 sub 2 sub D
Merry
to
Christmas.
conduct deliberations with a person designated by the government body to carry on labor relations. The executive session is closed to the public.
Yep.
Representative of the news media and designated guests will be allowed to attend, to attend executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room.
There she is.
Representatives of the new media are specifically directed not to report on otherwise to close any of the deliberations or anything said during the executive session except to state the general subject of the sessions as previously announced. No decisions may be made in the executive session. At the end of the executive session, the board will return to open session and will welcome the audience back in the room. And with that, we're going to take a 5-minute break.
All right.
Okay, and I'm going to